While I started out in a carnivore diet perspective, eating meat and organs and fat, I transitioned to including some carbohydrates in my diet because of electrolyte issues, because of workouts, kind of like what Joe was describing in the podcast that got a little flat because of sleep disturbances, and because of heart palpitations connected with those electrolyte issues. What we know is that the signaling of insulin, a molecule that often gets vilified, is critical at the level of the kidney for proper maintenance of electrolytes.
How dare you!
Dr. Paul Saladino became very popular in the nutrition space over his promotion of carnivore diets. But a few years ago, he decided to add fruit and honey to his diet after he was experiencing symptoms like muscle cramps from exercise, electrolyte imbalances, sleep disturbances, and even heart palpitations. Before we begin, this is Josh from Vitality Maximized. If you've been enjoying and viewing our content for some time, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on those bell notifications on YouTube and on Odyssey. My take on Dr. Saladino's change is what I have noticed other people who have been following carnivore diets have been experiencing, and it's just some of the things that the hardcore carnivore dieters do not want to hear. Here is Dr. Morris and Stephanie, keto person, talking about similar experiences and why they quit.
Here's why I quit the diet. Number one, I couldn't sustain it. Despite it being pretty simple and easy to follow, it's pretty black and white around what you could and couldn't eat. I always felt left out. Social stuff like dinner parties where food is cultural and social and fun. I wasn't involved in stuff like that, and my mental energy started to suffer, let alone my physical energy. That really started to fade away. The first little bit, things were okay, and even after a little bit, I started trying to manage my electrolytes and stuff like that, but it never really made it better. I knew something was up, and I really started to think, were plant-based foods really that bad for me, and did I really need to be eating this way? And then my gym performance went, and my bowel movements changed, and not for the better. And I really started to wonder, was I seeing improvements and feeling a little bit better in spite of what I was doing and not because of it? Instead of it actually being the absence of plants, was it because I was no longer eating so much junk and drinking alcohol and eating more protein? Was that the reason? What if I just don't want to go all in on one thing instead of the other?
But I tried this dang diet anyway. And I made it a ketogenic diet, so I would be in ketosis, and that worked. The energy levels weren't the problem for me. It was the fact that my electrolytes started to tank. And I am so sensitive to eating no carbs, I knew something was wrong when I started having oxygen issues, day twitches. Nausea was a new symptom I've never had before while doing keto. So nausea and day twitches, and obviously more night locking up of the feet and the calves. Also, I developed my ribs locked up from the lack of an electrolyte balance on a carnivore diet that I was so much more easily able to manage on a keto diet. What was the food that prevented me from having these terrible symptoms? Well, that was potassium. Potassium is everything, and I preach it in the majority of my videos that anytime you drop out your carbohydrates, you're going to need potassium. And since avocados have so much potassium, this is what I was eating on a keto diet that I was not eating on a carnivore diet. And I was in Bali when this went down, so it was worse. I was sweating buckets. This is what exacerbated my symptoms. You know, if I had been in tempered weather and everything was fine, I may have not noticed so quickly that my electrolytes were tanking on a carnivore diet, but being in Bali was like, I felt terrible. And then while I was there, I tried to reintroduce back avocados, especially when I went back to Australia because I did a tour there, a keto speaking tour, and I couldn't eat the avocado. It made me feel bloated. My stomach felt distended. My digestion was in knots, and I couldn't understand why over the years I've eaten thousands of avocados. But one little 9 months on a carnivore diet, and I couldn't eat not only avocados, but also broccoli and all the cruciferous vegetables, the brassica family. It was a freaking hot mess.
Back to Dr. Saladino. One reason to explain why he developed those symptoms and how he solved his problem with adding fruit and honey to his diet is because fruit and honey provide certain nutrients that I think are difficult to obtain in adequate capacity on a strictly animal foods only diet. Here are 4 nutrients I will mention for the purpose of this video. 1. Manganese. Manganese is important for sugar metabolism, turning amino acids and fatty acids into glucose, uric acid clearance, and thus kidney health, connective tissue synthesis like the production of carotidine sulfate, and multiple other processes. Raw honey can be an excellent source of manganese. And the second one I'll mention is potassium. Potassium is important for thyroid hormone receptivity, cortisol production, cell membrane potential, and carbohydrate metabolism. A common deficiency of potassium are muscle cramps and heart palpitations. The third one we'll talk about is vitamin C. Vitamin C is important for collagen production, protein synthesis, immune response, nervous system development, and antioxidant support. As stated in my previous video, animal protein only diets fail to provide adequate vitamin C. So he eats fruits now, and that gives him some vitamin C. The last one we'll talk about is boron. Boron is important for hormone production such as testosterone and estrogen, and boron facilitates the retention of calcium and magnesium in the body and thus improve bone health and wound healing. Fruits are typically a good source of boron. This video is not here to support what Dr. Saladino is doing, nor is it a go ahead to be gorging on fruit and honey. It is to point out that to thrive and to maximize the nutrients you can get from food, you can enjoy your animal foods, but also eat your plants too. Maybe, just maybe, y'all could take a lesson from Dr. Saladino. Thanks for your time, and signing off.